Good morning. Welcome to Drive Life Thoughts. This is video 4. This is talking about how to maintain your positivity during hard times. We're going to start the video off. We're going to do this in 2 parts. The first part we're going to talk about is what got you to this point. It can be anything from losing a parent. It can be a family that's divided. It can be pretty much anything that can cause you harm. You lose your house in a fire. Something that causes your heart great pain. So how do you be positive when it seems impossible? You know, obviously people are going to say, well, you know, it could always be worse. In that moment, it doesn't feel like it's worse. And the last thing you really want to hear is that. You know, you want somebody to understand. And a lot of times it's very tough, because if someone hasn't gone through what you've necessarily experienced, at least to a degree, you know, it doesn't have to be exact, but you know, you can't expect people to be able to empathize with you if they've never experienced it, because they just don't know. And it's not their fault. They're just fortunate enough to not have to deal with that problem that you had to. So it's kind of like, okay, like in my past, I lost a parent very young. And when I was going through school, it was a big challenge to see other kids with their parent or parents, obviously. You know, it was hard. They got to do all the things with their parents that you couldn't do now because your parent was gone. Because they passed away. It wasn't like a divorced parent, which still, you know, it still has its problems, but you know, at least there's a chance that you'll be able to see them. So when you talk to somebody and, you know, they can't understand how good their life is because, you know, they got to have that time that you never got the chance to have. So when you're going through problems like that, or you're feeling awful because you have a hard time with these things, these traumas. So let's use the example, okay, your house burned down. You lost everything in it. I've never had that happen. I've never lost a place like that. I have no idea how it feels. I've been told that it's a lot like losing a loved one in the family. I can definitely see where that's possible. All your memories are in that home. All of everything you ever known may be wrapped up in that home. All of your stuff. I mean, I love my stuff. I'd be really sad if my stuff was gone. You know, and obviously stuff can be replaced, which is good. So how do you see positivity in time like that? Well, let's start with the house, okay? I obviously won't know what you're feeling. Obviously, it's terrible, and you know, do you know what it's like to lose your home to a fire or some extent like that? Probably not. So how do you maintain the positivity? Well, the way I look at it is a couple different ways. If no one was hurt in that fire, okay, then that's obviously a positive thing. Because if you lost a somewhat important and you lost your house, well, you've got a lot to think about, and it's very hard, okay? When you can say, oh, I just lost my things. I lost, you know, my dishes, and I lost some photos. And even though photos are very important, I'd much rather have the people out of the house than the photos. You can always make new photos, new memories, you know? Being positive isn't just something that you can be in a moment like that. You have to really dig down deep and try to look for the silver lining in things. Maybe you get a new house out of the deal. Maybe you'll get the next and newest fridge where it has the camera to see what's inside it, even though you could just open the door. Still haven't quite figured out the purpose of that one yet. So that's kind of what I'm alluding to is you have a problem. We're going to use the house burning down. And how do you make the best out of that terrible situation? So obviously you have to go from this mindset of complete loss and hopelessness to I can strive and work harder to make things better. And when you do that, okay, it's not only empowering, but it's pushing out negative thoughts. All right. So let's say, for example, let's go back to me. Okay, we can go back to me because obviously I'm easy to be poked at. So when I lost my parent, okay, I was too young to understand and process what was going on. I just knew there was someone there, and then they were gone. Okay. And when you're going through that, okay, it's not something that just starts and stops. And this is for people that don't understand how this works or never had lost a parent, okay, because it's different, in my opinion, between losing a grandparent and losing your immediate parent, especially so young. So obviously, if you can't tell, because I do a whole channel about problems and things to get over, it's something I've had to work on, and I will forever work on these things because the effect of losing that parent has not only bothered me since day one, which I remember the day and exactly what happened and the time, okay, all the way till the end. It is not something that you can just make disappear. You can't do it. So it will always follow you if something like that happens. And the hardest part for me is to try to maintain that attitude of, well, how do you feel better? How do you make yourself happy? How can you be happy when somebody that you love is gone? Well, you almost can't on your own. You have to think about, did you have memories with that person? Were they good? What fun things did you do if you can remember them? Because like I said, I was pretty young. Now, a lot of the things got whisked away, which I wish I could remember. And other times the memories are gone. So what ended up happening with me is as I aged, okay, and I feel like that in itself, along with a few other things which we'll discuss in later videos, it chased me. I allowed the problems that I had to chase me. And instead of facing it head on and do the proper mental health therapy, I ran away from it. And it always catches up. And what it does is it keeps tagging your feet as you're running. So it would get involved in my relationships. It would get involved with making large decisions. Where am I moving to? It would make it would catch up to me right at the worst possible moments, and it would cloud my judgment. I'd be sad, or I'd let something small get bad, and I could never figure out why that was. And what it ended up being was it was me not properly understanding what I had went through and how it affects everything that I deal with every day. So if you lost someone important and you're trying to understand, how do I make this a good thing? Well, think about celebration of life ceremonies. Okay, the name of it, celebration of life, it's to understand that. Imagine if that person was never there to begin with. You didn't even know who they were. I would have much rather have someone in my life and lost them and remember all the good times and remember everything that we had, instead of not having that person at all and just missing out. Because every person around you is their own unique story, and they all have positive things to give you. I mean, yeah, there's definitely negatives depending on the person. You have that obnoxious sister, or you've got that aunt that never, can't leave you alone at family reunions. But, they're not real negatives. They're They're not real negatives. There's still a positive effect there. So, you know, you get through these bigger traumas and you try to figure out, okay, where do I go from here? Now I am in my mid-30s, and I lost my parent when I was 10 years old. Okay? So, to this day, I still have it affect me in certain ways. And it has absolutely contaminated parts of my life that I probably would have never had touched if I had done the work and I had the tools and understanding. Obviously, people don't have that, and it's nothing to be ashamed about. Trying to get through these things. And let's say you had a grandmother that was really important. And I mean, all grandmothers are important, but let's say you had a grandmother that raised you and then you lost her, right? That's a hard thing to get over, you know. And I feel for you. It's not an easy thing. So how do you make that a positive thing? How do you make losing that grandmother a good thing? You know, is it because you have religious beliefs and you think she's in a better place? I mean, that's totally up to you. Do you think that you're feeling positive because she has taught you things and shown you things in life that maybe you would have never had if you didn't have your grandmother to begin with? You know, maybe you should see it as, hey, thank God I had her to raise me because of A, B, and C. You know, maybe my life would have been completely different if she wasn't there, or if my life hadn't gone this way. So look at the good things. Maybe she taught me to be a very giving person, or maybe she taught me to be loving and caring, even when people are complete a-holes. Okay? There's always something to think about. You know, my grandmother, all I can think about is how she used to drag me out into the rock garden that she had, and she used to make me weed in the summertime, and I hated it. Oh, it used to drive me absolutely crazy. But you know what? Then you remember the good times. You remember, oh man, she made the greatest pies, and aren't always from scratch, because, you know, my grandmother she's like a stereotypical, you know, commercial. She's like that grandmother from the commercial, you know. Those are the things, and it makes you smile and it makes you happy. So even in bad times, there's always good things to look at. I know that what I say in my videos probably just seems like a bunch of gibberish to people, and they're like, well, how do you can't relate to me because, you know, even though that happened to you, it doesn't relate to me. It's possible, you know. I mean, I've met a person whose brother was shot and gunned down down in Brooklyn, you know. I can't compare that. I don't know, you know. But I've had a friend of mine whose father drowned in a channel, and we went to go look, and that sticks with me to this day. And I've done so much and seen so many people, and especially with my time in the fire service, and all those things keep standing out. So even though not every problem is the same, and you and the person next to you, you both have gone through things, you have to be empathetic about it. You know, you can't just close off, you know, the idea that, hey, just because it happened to me, you know, how do I make the best out of it, and how can I grow from it? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop right now. This is part 1 of part 2, and I hope that this is somewhat helping you. As always, I am not a doctor or a physician of any sort that deals with behavior. I'm simply just a guy who tries to make these videos to basically tell you that life can be a really good thing despite all of the hardships you may feel. So if you're feeling down, or you're not sure how you're going to get over the next step, okay, And in this video, or one of my videos that I have, helps you even in the slightest, or it makes you understand. Goddamn, always dropping the phone. See? No matter what, like in all my videos, no matter what, the phone always falls. All right? All right, we'll catch up with you with our second part of the video later on.